Hi, I'm Bonnie Barker with Bonnie Bay Crochet, and today I want to show you how to make the beginner-friendly slip stitch headband. I'm going to be using some yarn that is a bulky weight, and I'll show that to you in just a minute. But what's really nice about this headband is it has a lot of elasticity. It's a beautiful stitch, an easy stitch to learn. And not only that, it's wonderful for gift giving now that the holidays are upon us again. And even if you're not an absolute beginner, this is also a fun project if you're a seasoned crocheter as well. And it's always fun to add these to your wardrobe, and you can even change up the yarn choices from your stash. Now, if you're an absolute beginner, I definitely recommend that you stick with a lighter colored yarn for now, just so that it's easier to see the stitches. And then once you're comfortable with the stitches, you can always switch up to something a little more fun. For this project, I'm going to be using Paintbox yarns Simply Super Chunky. Let's take a look at this. This is 100 grams, 3.5 ounces. 60 meters or 65 yards in the skein, and this is 100% acrylic. And please note that this is a size number 6 or super bulky weight yarn. I'm also recommending that you have a size M or 13, which is the equivalent of 9.0 millimeter crochet hook, and as always, a pair of sharp scissors and a yarn needle is very handy to have. To begin, we're going to work a slip knot, and I'll do this very slowly. We take the hook, push it forward, you have a little twist, and then come down below, put the yarn over the hook, and pull it through, just like this. Just in case there are true beginners in our audience, I will also show you how to do this by hand. You can make a loop just like this, and then take the long part of the strand that is connected to the yarn ball and pull it up through the center like this, and pull the short tail. I'll do this one more time. Cross, make a loop like this, and then take the yarn that's connected to the yarn ball, pull it up through the center just like this, and you have a loop, and then pull the tail, and that forms a slip knot. Put that on your hook and pull securely. It doesn't have to be so tight that the yarn can't move, and you definitely don't want it too loose, so just a normal tension. Now we're going to crochet 11 chains. We do this by working the yarn over the back. The face of the hook goes down and we pull it through just like that. So we're going to do this a total of 11 times. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at what we have. And you can count the stitches by counting the V's. The slip knot at the beginning does not count as a stitch. All right, so we're going to count these, and you can see the V's. V here, V. These are the stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now, if you're an absolute beginner and I am going way too fast for you, I apologize. What you can do is look at the bottom of the screen, or maybe at the top of the screen. It depends on the device you're looking through and that you are viewing this on. And you look for a little gear-shaped icon. If you click on that, it will bring up a playback speed. And from that menu, you can choose a much slower playback speed, thereby seeing this slower. And also you can just rewind and see what I've done if you're not real comfortable with the chain, which I understand can be very challenging. Now that we have our 11 chains, we're going to begin working the rows of slip stitches. And to do that, we're going to skip the first stitch, and starting in the second chain, we're going to just put our hook right in there. And for a slip stitch, we pull the yarn through and then pull the yarn through. It's as simple as that. We're going to do this all the way across. Insert the hook, pull the yarn through, pull the yarn through, and that is a slip stitch. And that is the only stitch that we're going to use in this entire project once we get past the starting chain. Okay, this is stitch number 9 and stitch number 10. Let's pause and take a look at what we have. Now this would be a good time for me to tell you, if you want this to be thinner, if you don't want this to be 10 stitches across, which is approximately 3.5 inches, if you don't want it as wide as this, what you can do is just crochet fewer chains. If you want this even wider, just add additional chains to the 11 that we started with. Okay, so even though we worked 11 chains down at the beginning, we're going to be working 10 slip stitches in each row across, and I'm going to show you how we're going to do this. So that was row 1. For row 2, I'm going to chain, turn. Now this is where it can get tricky because you see a lot of different loops here. The loops that we are interested in are right here. So this loop, let's go ahead and turn this around again. And in case you are confused, it's easy once you turn. I'll put a stitch marker where we're going to be entering. Okay, so the loops that we're going to be working in here are going to be right there. It's going to be the back loop once we turn this. So I'm going to put a stitch marker right there so that we can understand where this is going. This is the chain stitch. We don't work in that. But you see where the stitch marker is? This row of loops right here are the loops that we're going to work in, and we're just going to work slip stitches. So let's go ahead and get this towards the back. Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to move that stitch marker off to the side. We don't really need it anymore, so we're going to work slip stitch. You see how we're only working in the back loop. Slip stitch, and again, so that makes 3. So you do want to keep a count so that you don't add additional stitches or omit the stitches, because if you omit them, it will make that headband section smaller, and you don't want that. You want it to be regular. Slip stitch, and then we have one more left. And just to be careful, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so now we're going to chain 1 and we're going to turn, and again we're going to work in the back loop. So when you turn, it looks like this, but you're going to need to flip it back a little bit further to see that slip stitch, and it's the back right there. Slip stitch, slip stitch. And again, if you're not sure, let me go ahead and take this out. You can always flip it back to the previous row, and if you're not sure which loop it is, you know it's this loop. And just so that you want to remind yourself, you can always, again, slip a little stitch marker in there if you need to mark that loop. I understand it can be really tricky to see, but once you work a few of these rows, it becomes a little more manageable and automatic. So slip, stitch, slip, stitch. Sorry, the camera's having a hard time focusing. I'll try to keep it straight. And there is one more stitch. This can be a little tricky to see. Let me show it to you. The last stitch is right here. So make sure that you don't leave out that 10th stitch, and let's count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so we're going to chain 1, turn, and we're going to just do this continually until this piece vertically measures approximately 18 inches. I'm not even going to give you an exact row count as I do this, and this is my reasoning behind this. Each yarn, even in the super bulky category, is unique depending on the brand, and you may actually need to work fewer or additional rows in order to get that 18-inch length. Now this is going to be for an adult. If you want to make a smaller headband for a child, look in the video description. I'll try to have some information there about that, but just know that it's going to be shorter than 18 inches. And you can even customize this depending on a headband that you may already have in your possession. All right, so let's go ahead and turn, and we're just going to keep doing this over and over again. Okay, and let me just show you how this will look. And for the most part, it is reversible. You can see those beautiful slip stitches. So I'm going to work this continually, and I will show you my update. Okay, I finished working the rows needed to get 18 inches, but let me show you the elasticity of this fabric when crocheted. Isn't that amazing? And the snapback that this stitch gives, even fibers that are not traditionally flexible, like wool tends to have more bounce back, but the acrylics don't. But even so, it has a lot of nice elasticity. Now when you measure this, don't pull it long ways. I want you to measure it in a relaxed manner, and then using a measuring device. So you have to trust me here. I've measured this, and it is 18 inches from end to end, and that's when laying completely flat and relaxed. Okay, now even though this is going to only be 18 inches, when we combine it, when it expands to much more than that, and it will provide enough elasticity to basically stay on your head. After some time, certain designs of headbands will actually stretch out and just not stay on any longer. And this I think will be different. It's a lot more elastic. Okay, so now we need to join the two ends. Okay, and so what we do for this is we're going to put two sides together. Now before we do that, let me just show you that this is reversible. Both sides look the same, and because of that, it doesn't matter how you join them. All right, and also just a reminder, I'm not giving you the exact number of rows because it is irrelevant, and let me show you why. I used a different bulky weight yarn. I used 10 stitches across, and let me compare the two. You can see that this is slightly smaller widthwise, and also if I counted the stitches lengthwise, it would be slightly different because the yarn is just slightly different. So again, the most important thing is that when you measure this out, that you measure to 18 inches for an adult size headband, which again will fit a variety of sizes. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to chain one. This will be the last row, and this will be the joining row. And so what we're going to do, we're going to work slip stitches. We're going to work in that back loop like we've been working, and then we're going to join it to the remainder of that chain, and I'm going to go under both loops. You can just use one, but I think it's going to give it a little more stability to use two of those. So there, and then under here, under that slip stitch, and then we work a slip stitch, and we're just going to work that all the way across, and I will do this with you. I hope you enjoyed making these as much as I have. I ended up making 3 of them, and I'll show you the others just to compare and talk about sizing in a minute. Okay. And so we're just going to continually go across. And of course this seam would be worn, you know, at the back, or, you know, under the neck section, so you won't see it. It's not going to look too bad, but it's not going to look as even as the other stitches. Okay, so we've worked that all the way across, and before we fasten off, let me show you. See, this is a little bit bulkier here, and then on the inside, so obviously you would make that the inside, and this would be the outside. Okay, so it's just slightly different. It's not unsightly or anything, but it's just, I would say, different enough that you don't want to see that. All right, so after that, we're going to give it a chain and give it a nice tug. I'm going to cut a generous strand. I would say 4 to 6 inches minimally. And the reason for that is so that you can thread it into your yarn needle like so. Well, before we do that, let's not do that first. Let's go ahead and pull this through. Forgot to do that. And there we go. So now we have 2 strands to hide within our work, and let's go ahead and do these one at a time. Sometimes you can do them 2 together if they're thin enough, but these are definitely not thin enough. All right, so I'm going to make this one easy. So I'm going to run this under those 2 loops, and I'm just going to kind of go in and out, in and out. What's nice about this thick yarn is it's going to hide really well under these stitches. You don't have to even go as far as I'm going. Let's just go there that far. And then very carefully cut close to your work. Make sure you're not cutting your other stitches. And that is effectually hidden. So let's do another one. Now if you join these together, and let's say you have, I'm going to go ahead and get this threaded. Yeah, there we go. So let's say you have 1 strand here to hide and 1 strand here. It really doesn't matter. So just, you know, just work it in. I'm going to just try to hide these slip knots as best as I can. And I'm going to just kind of go under these 2. There's no rule or anything on how you hide these. It's just that you want to hide them in a very secure manner. And you always want to do this on the back side of your crochet so that you don't see it. And make sure that you don't clip the stitches or the strands real short after you finish. Always leave a nice long strand so that we can weave this into the work. And let's just do one more. Go ahead and work this one all the way across. And give it a trim close, but not too close to your stitches. All right, so those are hidden in very well. Turn it right side out. And now you have a beautiful neutral colored headband. And let me show you another one that I made with another yarn changing. This is a 1-ply super bulky yarn. And again, you see the elasticity and all. Now, if you're new to crochet, I highly recommend that you stick with light colored yarns at first until you understand the stitching really well. This was fun to work up, but honestly, it makes it much more difficult to see the stitches when the yarn is so variegated. Now I wanted to talk a little bit about sizing. And let me show you that if you wanted to make a headband for, let's say, a younger child, you may want to just use fewer stitches This is 8 stitches wide, where this one is 10 stitches wide, and you can see the difference. And what you can do with the sizing is I would definitely use a hat or something that fits a child's head, or the child that you're looking to make this for, and you're just going to work fewer rows. You're not going to have to go to 18 inches. You may only have to go to 15 or 16 inches around. And just keep in mind too that there will have what we call ease built in with this stitch. Well, I so hope you enjoyed making these slip stitch headbands with me today. If you did, please comment in the comment section below, and see you in the next video. God bless.